No,
Alrighty,
I'm
so
also,
what's the
I'm
topic?
also been recording, bro.
Shouldn't I record it, by the way?
Yeah.
You said yes?
No, I'm recording as well.
I'm waiting to hear Shinner say yes, he's always recording.
Is that the African assassin?
Okay, gotcha, cool. So let's go. So let's get it. So what's the topic here? What are going to be debating here?
We could do like the topic we ran last time where we didn't get to finish. God's existence.
God's existence. What's your stance on the topic?
I could just pick like maybe like a agnostic stance or just like a weak atheist stance.
That's fine. So I'll just take the position that God exists. I'll be defending the position that there's an omnipotent, omniscient creator. By God, I'm talking about an omnipotent, omniscient creator of the universe. Do we sign up on this definition? Yes or no?
I guess you can hold that as your definition. I mean, sincerely, because I'm taking a weak atheistic stance, I would obviously be denying that said definition, or of course, of being holding to being
You
true. So
denied the definition, so you have a better definition of God?
no, I said that since I'm taking a weak atheistic stance, I wouldn't be really holding to that definition, but you can hold to that specific definition because you're affirming these specific deity.
So then that means you're not. So what are you denying here? Because a weak atheist could be skeptical towards God
What I'm
existing, correct? Real quickly, yes or no?
what I'm denying in question
Wait, yes or
is
no? Just answer my question because I don't want to do this dodging stuff. So a
what
weak
I'm
atheist, in your case, they would be skeptical towards God existing, correct?
so when I consider a weak
Yes or
atheist,
no?
yeah, I'm trying to answer the question. Can I please do that?
Yeah, but just by saying yes or no, I don't want to fluff and rant. I want a yes or no. So yes or no, would they be skeptical towards God existence? It's a very simple question. It's not a trick question.
Well, I know it's not a trick question, but the whole thing, I feel like if I explain my semantics, I guess we can go off
You
like
don't have to do that. It's just a simple yes or no question. It's a trick question. I'm not trying to gotcha here. Yes or no, before I
I know
progress
you're
my point
trying
onwards.
to
Is a
say,
weak atheist, going to, hold on, real quickly. Let's not do this, okay? So a weak atheist, you say you're atheist in this conversation. I'm asking you, as a weak atheist, are you skeptical or are you denying that God exists? Yes or no?
I would be
Very simple
holding
question.
type of skepticism. But here's the thing, though. The reason why
Okay,
I'm
so the
trying to
answer is a yes. So the answer is yes. Just say yes. You don't have to be giving me this rant. So we both agree that a weak atheist will be taking this stance, whereas you're going to be skeptical towards God existing. Now, if you're going to be skeptical towards something existing, presumably you have an idea of what that thing is, but you don't know if that thing actually exists or not in the context of theology. So now I'm asking you, if you're going to be sitting here denying the definition, then that means when you're thinking of the word God or when you use the word God, before you make the claim that you're skeptical of this concept existing, you're having a different definition. Because you claim to deny my definition, you don't hold to my definition. So what's the definition?
Yeah, so basically, like, I just have a question mainly about your specific definition because, like, I don't know if it aligns with any type of Abrahamic beliefs. Is like outside of Abrahamic beliefs? Is it like tied to religious beliefs? Like, basically, just this, omni properties. Is it tied to that? Yes or no?
So that doesn't answer my question. So we're going to try again. So the question I've asked you specifically was, is it the
Yeah.
case that you hold to a better definition, considering that you made the claim to deny my definition?
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, the condition for me to deny your definition has to have an affirmation on that condition.
First, I'm going
And
to
I'm
answer your question. I'm going to answer your question because you don't want to answer my questions. You just want to derail. So I'm going to answer your question.
I
The
know
answer is,
I'm trying
of
to get a
course, does conform.
clarification. I understand.
I'm going to answer your question because you begged me to answer your question, right? So the answer to your question is simply yes, it does conform with Abrahamic religion's definition because, for one, we see that in Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one of the 99, or sorry, two of the 99 properties of Allah's nature, or rather sifat, for example, is being all-knowing and being all-powerful. So it conforms with their concept. So now the question has been answered, we're going to get back to my point. Now, the definition that I'll be operating under within this context, which is conventionally used in philosophy and theology, by the way, which for some reason you're not accepting, which is ridiculous, but we're going to get over that, right? So the definition is God is an omnipotent, omniscient creator of the universe. Do we accept or reject that definition before we move on into proving that this being exists? Yes or no? Not a fluff and rant, just a yes
Yeah.
or no.
specifically, I can go ahead and grant that I don't hold towards these specific Abrahamic gods existing. That's what I would consider an atheistic stance,
Irrelevant to
and
my question. Want to try again?
that's an answer to the question because that would have
No,
an
it doesn't. We're not
implication.
talking about your perspective on whether or not the thing
No,
exists. We're
it's
talking about your
implicated.
perspective on the definition of the terminology. So hold on a second. So what you're doing here is a metalinguistical analysis, not a ontological analysis. So you're just dead wrong with this. You're incorrect on your assessment here. I'm asking you, with respects to your definition of this linguistic token, if you understand what that is, do you accept the definition of presented? I'm not asking you if you accept the existence of the thing represented by the linguistic token. I'm asking you if you accept the definition of the linguistic token. There's a distinction between metalinguistics, or linguistical analysis, and ontological or metaphysical analysis. So could you please answer my question without derailing? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm saying I just hold towards a distinct definition of a god, and that's what I would consider
What's your
an atheist.
definition of God?
Yeah, I'm just saying anything that's outside of Abrahamic belief and shit like that. That's what I was trying to get to
So you're
because
telling me that the omnipotent, omniscient creator is not something which is in alignment with Abraham, correct?
I'm sorry, I had to change rooms. Go ahead.
You said
Repeat.
that's you said the definition of God that you take to be different from my definition is something which is in alignment with Abrahamic definitions of God or Abrahamic religious definition of God. Meaning that the claim you'd be making fundamental here is that my definition is out of alignment with Abrahamic religious definition. Could you prove this claim?
Okay, so first of all, I'm not really saying, oh yeah, your specific definition's out of alignment. Like I don't know where you're getting that from. I'm
That's
saying my
entailed from your agreement, by the way. It's
my
entailed
de-
from what you said.
hold on. So first of
Mm-hmm.
all, let's talk about my stance. And when you asked me for my analytics of God, I sat there and gave you something that was outside of Abrahamic belief, so it's not entailed completely at all. I don't know what you're getting from. Considering that's an individualistic. Sorry, I started there. Individualistic. Question towards a individual person. So I don't see why it would have to have some type of unilateral perspective on things. That's like kind of like retarded in that perspective. But go ahead. Do you see like
Yeah, so that was an irrelevant response to what I said. That was a flaccid, impotent response for this reason, right? You told me that your definition of God is distinct from my definition of God. And then you said your definition of God is in alignment with the Abrahamic religious definition of what Abrahamic religion believes or perceives God as. So for it to be the case that your definition is distinct from my definition, and your definition is in alignment with what Abrahamic religion perceive God to be, it has to be the case that my definition has to be out of alignment with the Abrahamic religious definition, because if it was to be in alignment, then there'd be no distinction between my definition and your definition. But you believe there to be a distinction. So I'm going to ask you once again, what's the proof for it being out of alignment with Abrahamic religious definition of God? Tell me,
Cool.
what's the proof of that? That's the claim you're making fundamentally. That's the presupposition you're making here.
so
Tell me.
real quick, hold on before you start, going on like, wait, tell me,
I'm
tell me,
not
tell me.
yelling.
I'm
Don't
gonna
you
ask.
tone police me. Just answer my
Okay,
question.
so I'm trying
Thank
to
you.
ask a question. It's a clarifying question, right? I'm asking you,
Another Dutch, huh? Okay, good.
referring, are you referring to a unilateral perspective? Like, because I couldn't fully hear you because you're like fucking like muttering, like just like whatever your fucking mic's doing. I just it's muffled.
My mic
But
is bugging, so
are
I'll
you
just repeat
also
myself.
referring?
I'll just repeat myself. Shinner, am I bugging on the recording? Because I'm not going to talk if I'm bugging out.
So I'm just gonna sit here and like ask again real quick.
Check
So
tell me if I'm bugging out or something, because I can go to a place with better connection.
might just be my device, but I'm just gonna sit here and like ask
Wait,
the
I'm going to
question.
ask the chat first before we continue, because I'm not going to be talking when my mic is bugging out. I want the recorder to get every single thing I'm saying. So let me
Apollo,
just
don't
check
worry,
the
you're
chat.
not bugging out, bro. You're not bugging out.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Continue. Go ahead, Seb. Continue.
Yeah. So the thing I'm trying to ask is that because were you saying last time that your definitions entail to have some type of distinction from Abraham beliefs as well because of mine, or like I was not hearing you correctly?
That's a deflection, and I've never made that claim. If you get the recording of me making that claim, that would be lovely, but I've never made that claim. Now, again, I'm going to re-ask the question, right? So the presupposition you're making here is that my definition of God, which is simply an omnipotent, omniscient creator, is out of alignment with the Abrahamic religion's definition. And I'm going to ask you one more time. Hopefully, you'll answer this on the fifth try. Is it the case that you have proof for this claim? And if so, what's the proof for the claim that my definition
That's
is out of
out of
alignment
alignment.
with the
You
Abrahamic
said out of
religious
alignment.
definition.
Right? You said out of alignment.
Yep. What's the proof of that
Okay.
claim?
First of all, I wasn't even targeting your definition or analytics. I was just giving my analytics. There was no claim towards your analytics. I'm simply saying my
Incorrect.
definition has a disagreement with your specific definition, right? So, like, I
That's
don't know where you
incorrect.
out of stuff.
You telling me that you deny my definition is you talking about my definition. So you're in fact targeting my definition by expressing your disbelief towards my definition and your belief towards a different definition, which I think is more conventional and is in alignment with the Abrahamic religious definition. So that's incorrect. You're wrong on that.
No, I don't think my definition would be in alignment with Abrahamic religion, considering I'm taking a
You
weak.
just said your definition of God is in alignment with the Abrahamic religious definition of God,
No,
which is
I
what
said
makes
it
it different from my
disagrees with
definition.
Abrahamic religion. If it disagrees with that, it should have no agreement with on it. Like that's just a fucking contradiction.
You're not understanding. This is on the recording and you're embarrassing yourself, right? 1,000% you said specifically, I'm 1,000% certain enough that you can roll back the clip afterwards and you're going to be embarrassed. What you said verbatim, word for word, is my definition is in alignment with the Abrahamic religious definition after you said you denied my definition.
No,
What are you
I did not
talking about? That's your
say it
definition of God.
disagrees. It disagrees with it. I affirm some type of deity existence, but it's outside of Abrahamic religions. You're the one who gave the affirmation saying it aligns with that by affirming some type of omni properties when I asked the question. You agreed to that and you gave an example by sitting there and
Yeah,
saying the
so firstly,
humanities
what
of
you said
love
was that your
and
definition was in alignment with
sacrifice.
it. So
Well,
that's just a switch of the claims.
right?
But
You're
anyways,
saying you're
let's
trying to
move in,
say I'm the one
let's
saying
move
it's in
forward. Let's
alignment.
move forward.
I'm saying you're saying and taking the atheistic stance. There's nothing, there's no agreement with that.
Yeah,
There's
you're not
no
really understanding
agreement
what's going on here. This is embarrassing stuff, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rerun the dialogue here and just hopefully can stay on track here, right? So let's see. The definition that I present of God, which is omnipotent, omniscient creator, it seems to be the case that you don't take it to be true that an omnipotent, omniscient creator would be God, correct?
So what I just screwed my back. Okay, so you said just for
No,
clarification.
hold on, real quickly. I'm gonna re-ask the
I'm
question. You're
trying
not gonna
to
just
hear
not gonna
let me
just not
say
share my
right
question and then
just
talk
so
over
I get
me
it.
and derail from my actual question. So I'm gonna
You're
re-ask
saying
the
I
question,
think the
but you're
idea
dodging.
of the omni creation omni property creator is
Omniproperties.
retarded, right?
Yes.
Okay, right.
Yeah. Do
So
you take that to be God? Yes or no?
I mean, okay, what I take to be God, right? You're asking that question?
I'm asking if you take that specifically to be sufficient or something to be God.
Okay. First of all, are you asking in terms of your analytics or my analytics? Because we had a whole entire confusion
Oh
about.
my God, dude. So I'm gonna re-ask the question in a different way. So I'm gonna give you a multiple choice question. It's gonna be three options, A, B, and C. So is it going to be the case that given your definition or your analysis, your concept of God, irrespective of believing this concept to exist or not, is it the case that given your concept of God, it is the case that a sufficient condition for something to be God is for it to be an omnipotent, omniscient creator of the universe? A, yes. B, no. D, neither of the above. Therefore, I'm a dumb fuck dodger. Which one is it?
Okay, so you're talking about your analytics. Great. Glad you
A,
answered the
B, or
question.
C? Which one is
I'm
it?
gonna
Is
choose.
it
I'm
C?
gonna choose one of the options.
Yes or no?
Can
Yes or
I answer?
no?
Holy shit, man! Stop
See,
like doing that.
I'm waiting for the yes or no. Or maybe it's just going to be C, which is going to be you being a dumb fuck and you being a dodger. Which one is it?
Again, I'm gonna answer the question. I don't think your analytics
Yes
are
or
gonna be
no?
saying, "Oh yeah, omni property" or
So
omni.
the answer is C.
Beings.
So the answer is C.
No, I'm answering the question. If you just heard me, I
So
just
what's the
said
yes or no? Which one is it?
it's not sufficient, right? I just said it's not sufficient. I don't
Okay,
think
so
you
that means the
disagree.
answer is B. The answer is B. No, got you. So that means that we're not even having the debate properly. But there's no debate here to be had because when you're saying you're skeptical or deny that God exists, you're talking about something completely different. Correct?
Okay, so first of all, I'm just saying that your idea of God is like
Yes or no? It
right?
was a yes or no
I'm gonna
question, by the way.
explain my semantics because I'm not gonna keep playing this.
You're not.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
not asking
why did you
for a
answer it this
TED
way
talk
or not?
or an
Because I can simply
autobiography. I'm
explain and we
asking
can
for a yes or no to my
substance,
question.
like substance filled
You're
debate
just
instead of
derailing, you're
like,
deflecting, and this is
take
embarrassing stuff. This is
control
bad
of
for you
the
optically.
debate
This is
by sitting
optically
here and saying,
embarrassing.
simply
This
going,
is
oh yeah, it's
optically
either this way
embarrassing.
or
Look,
this way, and then you
lock
dodge.
in. I'm gonna re-ask the
I'm
question.
attempting
I'm
to
gonna
answer the
re-ask
question,
the question.
and
Okay, I'm
clarify
gonna
my mind,
re-ask the question.
just so
The
we can
question
have
is,
a debate.
you're
There's no
you're
point
just
in sitting
deflecting.
here
This is
saying,
embarrassing.
oh, yeah, this is
The
the only way to
question
do
is,
it. You keep
Would it
saying,
be the
yeah,
case,
this is
or do
embarrassing.
you agree
This is
now that there's
embarrassing.
no debate position to be
This is
had? Yes or
embarrassing,
no?
right? Hello? Can I ask you a question?
Deflecting
This
again.
is embarrassing, right?
You won't answer the question. Do you even know
Okay.
what the question is? What was my question? What was my most
Just
recent
so we
question?
can go back into the
What was
substance,
my
right?
most recent question?
And you mouthing
We're
off
on the
is
substance.
your
We're talking
answer.
about the necessary conditions for there to be even be debates right now. What was my most recent question? Tell me. You
Your
don't remember, don't you?
simple multiple
Tell me.
choice one. When you're talking about your
No,
fucking
that was
analysis,
not the most recent question, you moron, you idiot. My most recent question was me asking you, do you now agree that given the fact you have a different definition of God because you rejected my analytics of God, then that means you're talking past each other? And I said, correct. And you derailed and went off to a non-point again. We're just talking past each other. We're not agreeing. There's no debate prop here. Because when you're just saying that you're skeptical of God existence, you have a completely different notion of what God is. So that's irrelevant. We're not even debating again. There's no debate to be had.
okay,
Because
you
what I
know what?
mean by God is
Let me
something
lay this
completely
out.
different.
Paul, let me lay this out for you, and I hope you can surely understand. I hope I'm coherent enough because I can certainly write down an entire biography for you for my entire semantics if you want. So I'm gonna give this to you. I'm
And I'm
gonna.
not asking for that. I'm not
Do you
asking for all
need a
that.
writing? Do you need my semantics
I'm not
explained?
asking for all that.
Do you
I
need
don't. That's
writing, or do you
irrelevant.
need
You're
the
not even
semantics explained
understanding
from
the
BC?
fundamental
Do you
issue
need
with
to
this all.
explain it to BC, or do you need it writing? Do you need it written,
Yeah, this
or do you
guy's
need it
just
explained to BC?
he's lost in the
Answer the
conversation.
question.
Dude, you
Answer the
understand that when
question.
you have a debate proposition, hold on. If I'm debating you on whether or not, let's say, unicorns exist, and if you mean by unicorn like a rock, if by unicorn, when you use that word, all you mean there is rock, and by a unicorn, what I mean is a horse with a horn which flies around in the sky, and I say unicorns do not exist, and you say unicorns exist. You understand we're not disagreeing, right? There's no disagreement there because we're just talking past each other. The same logic applies here. If you have a different definition of God, which is not the same as my definition of God and is completely different given your own perspective, then essentially we're talking past each other and there's no meaningful disputes, and therefore there cannot be a debate to begin with. There's no debate proposition. Which is
Okay.
why I keep on asking you, do you sign up on my
So,
definition, at least for the sake of the conversation? Just answer the question, dude.
so real quick, I'm gonna sit here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna explain to you, right? And I don't think that's analogous at all, by the way. I'm gonna explain why if you want to. Like, so first of all, when you
I
explain the
didn't
thing with
expect you to believe that, by the way,
when
because
you're
you just don't
explaining
track
and
conversation properly.
dispensing towards or just stipulating with that analogy, right? You're trying to get that measurement of how the conversation is going, right? Trying to fit that analogy in there, right? I don't think when you sit there and affirm that, oh yeah, I'm saying this possibly can, I'm just gonna explain. Hopefully, I can calm down real quick because this fucking meta rambling is bullshit. But the unicorn point is that it's supposed to be analogous, right? And basically, you're affirming two definitions, right? But we're talking about one that agrees with Abrahamic things, right? The God in question is yours. You're the one who said that's in line with that. Via the only properties, you gave the example via giving the 99
Secrets.
properties of
Right.
Allah, right? See, that is sitting there and aligning with Abrahamic things, right? I'm sitting here saying, oh yeah, I can agree with the notion of a God existing, but it's not concretely the same or identical towards yours, right? So I am sitting here and offering a chance of definitions, right? Trying to understand your analytics so we can go off your analytics and argue about that specific God and see if an actual
Okay,
omnipotent
so
being or
the
creator
answer is you're
can
willing.
exist.
So the answer. So just to be clear, in this, because just to wrap up the little autobiography session you're giving off, right? So basically, you're willing to operate under my definition for the sake of this conversation to have a debate. Yes or no?
Okay, so are you asking in the sense, are we
Yes
arguing over it, or are
or
you
no?
asking me to agree to it?
What part of my sentence was hard to understand, retard?
I'm trying to ask you of the implicatives. Like, I'm not asking for a direct
I'm gonna
thinking. I'm trying to
re-ask
ask
the
you.
question, okay? Because you have this like nasty tendency to just say everything but a yes or no to yes or no questions, right? So the question I'm asking you is, are you willing, even if you disagree with my definition and you have a different idea of God, are you willing to go under my definition of God for the sake of having a debate right now? Yes or no?
Yeah, okay. I asked you in which context, and the context is we're
In the
sitting there
context
saying
of this conversation, what other context could I be talking about?
context of the
Idiot.
conversation. But which
In
fucking
the context
context?
of this
In the
conversation, we're
conversation,
just trying to aim
you
to have a debate on
asking
the given
me
topics,
to
dude.
operate
What are you
as if
talking
I
about?
agree with you to
I'm
talk
actually
about it
gonna
or
crush out.
go
This guy's
against the
retarded.
definition for
I'm
me
gonna
to
crush
make sure
out.
your definition.
Oh shit,
Holy
dude.
shit,
Dude,
it's
just
bad as
say yes
shit.
or no to my
I'm
question.
asking you, and you're
What
just
is
sitting here
hard
asking a question while
what is
avoiding my
hard to
question.
answer about?
What's important to the specific context of the conversation? Go ahead and answer
No,
it.
he's just lost. He just does not have working brain cells anymore, guys. Look, I'm asking you again. And this is I'm gonna before you even try to answer my question, I'm gonna ask anyone in the voice call to see if this question is complex or is it just a simple yes or no question, which is not a trick question. So yes or no, say, but this is just a honest question. I'm not trying to get you in a rat trap or anything, or dialectically trap you into like anything, right? I'm asking you, is it the case that you're willing, irrespective of you disagreeing with my definition, are you willing to agree and go under my definition of what God is for the sake of having a debate on the topic of whether or not God exists? Yes or no? And by the way, before you even give your rant, wait, before you respond, chat or anyone in the voice call, is this question too complex to answer? Can you not just say a yes or no to it? Is it too complex? Does it require like a 10-minute ranting session and you just ask for context of that bullshit? Is it a simple question, chat? I just want to hear the chat's opinions on this. Maybe I'm tripping out. I'm not sure. Like, what's going on? Simple yes or no question? Okay, gotcha. Very simple. Okay, so even someone who has a consistent trend of disagreeing with me agrees it's very simple. Okay, now I want to hear your answer, and I hope I don't get like an overly extended response, which is neither a yes nor a no to my. Let me hear what it's going to say.
All right. All right. So the consensus from Val, I wouldn't take that because I mean, Mr. Two Yeshayas, ain't really very competent there. But I'm gonna sit here and try my best to answer the question. Seemingly, I was trying to ask what operate goes under, as in agreeing to argue over the definition, as that's what my
No,
original.
agree with my definition, obviously.
Okay, finally,
Obviously.
we got an answer to the question. We finally got an answer to the
That was a
question.
dumb
Holy
question
shit,
you had to
bro!
ask me. That was a
Bro,
dumb,
bro,
obvious
there's
question you
no
had to
way.
ask me.
He
What does
finally
operate
answered the
mean?
question. Holy shit,
I
bro! He
finally
finally answered
answered your
the question.
dumbass question
I'm
because
actually so happy.
I never
Mashallah, bro.
thought,
Mashallah.
someone could not
Mashallah. He just
understand what
answered
it
the
means to
question.
operate under
Mashallah, bro.
something.
Mashallah,
I
bro.
thought
Nah,
you're
there's no way.
socially
He just
competent. I
answered the
thought you're
question.
mentally competent
Mashallah.
enough to
He sounds
understand what it
happy.
means
He
to
answered the
say
question.
that you're
Mashallah.
operating under a given definition. But
He answered
apparently,
the
I had to teach
question.
you basic social
Mashallah, bro.
cues and
Mashallah.
kind of
He
take your
finally answered the
pockets and
question.
walk you through what it means to say this
Mashallah,
claim.
bro.
But yes,
Mashallah.
yes, say, but what I mean when I'm asking you if you're going to operate under my definition is if you're going to be agreeing to my definition. Yes, yes, Saba. That was a very obvious thing. That was a very obvious answer.
I asked you that from the beginning.
I never
I
expected you
asked
to
you that
ask me
from the
this
beginning.
dumb
And you
question,
were
this
repeating
dumb,
the question
autistic,
instead of
obvious
repeating the
question.
question
I expected a
instead of
more
answering
substantive
it.
response. I expected a more
Holy shit,
substantive
bro.
response. So
Holy
is
shit.
the answer? So
Holy shit.
is the answer a yes or no?
Holy shit, bro. He just,
Holy shit is not a response to my question. You want to try again?
you know, sure, I can argue under that definition. I'll argue against the definition. Sure.
Lovely. So the answer is a yes. Lovely. We're getting there. We're having some progression, guys. Okay, got you. So just to refresh the debate, refresh the conversation, guys. So basically, the definition of God we're both going under for the sake of this dialectical discourse is an omnipotent, omniscient creator. My opponent Seba will be taking the negation insofar as he's a weak atheist. He's skeptical of this being existing, and they'll be taking the affirmative. I affirm that this being exists, given my theistic commitments. Now, I presume this is going to ask me for an argument, which I'll give an argument right now. However, this argument is going to hinge on certain meta-ontological commitments, which I'll ask him quite frankly, what is this meta-ontological analysis? What is your meta-ontology?
Sorry, I didn't hear. I was just focused on, cleaning my face with water because I'm sweating. But
Okay, I'll wait.
yeah, you asked for a meta-ontological analysis, yeah.
Yeah, what's your meta-ontology?
Yeah. So, okay. So, mainly, are you asking for the meta-ontology, like something like concretely existing, like God, for an example, just like, or just existence in general?
Universally general for the existence concept.
All right, yeah. Maybe I could just sit here and say, I accept, like, maybe about reality being like some type of subjective experience, but I'm not going to go down that route, and I could just accept some type of other existential cause for reality, except not specifically a or some
What?
creator.
Wait, hold on, stop. What is meta-ontology?
I asked you a question and you answered universally for specifically speaking about the inquiry about
No,
existence.
you asked me for the context, right? So you're asking if I'm talking specifically about God's case of created existence or something else. I'm saying I'm talking about universally. Now I'm going to ask you because all of your responses just seems to be really intellectually bankrupt, respectfully. What is your definition of meta-ontology here?
Definition of meta-ontology, just the standard definition. Should be any other definition. So let me get this
what's
quick.
the definition?
Let me get this straight real quick, just to make sure I'm not tripping. Something that you asked.
Holy shit, dude.
No. It's very simple and very quick. When you say universally, right? You're referring to
I'm
existence as a whole.
torturing myself, Brian. I'm intellectually torturing myself with this
Are
debate
you
right now.
asking,
Dude,
specifically about
why do you make
existence?
simple questions so complicated? This is not rocket science. This is not quantum mechanics. This is
It's
not
not
like
even
some high level
it's just a
chemistry.
simple question.
Dude,
You're acting
these are
like
just basic questions which even the average layman could understand. What is your definition of this? What do you mean by this? Very simple stuff. What are you doing, dude? You have to go all the way into like these galaxies of rabbit holes and not actually answer very basic one-dimensional questions. Just answer.
Yeah, mainly speaking was you do realize when you say meta debate analysis, right? I asked you in reference towards God's existence, concretely existing or existence. You said universally. So universally applying towards specifically like existence, or are you applying that towards specifically
That
about
is what meta-ontology is about, you dumbass nigga. Holy
no?
shit, meta-ontology is only about existence concept. What else could it be about?
Okay, so you were confused over that, and despite that, you
I'm
asked me.
confused about what? What am I confused about? Because I can just
Yeah,
flip the
let me.
definition
No,
right
no,
now.
no.
It's
Okay, go
stupid,
on.
right?
Okay, go on.
If you knew what
I'm
methodology
getting
is,
held
which you
up.
don't, if you knew what methodology is, which you don't, you'd have not been asking me these obviously these clarifying questions are with obvious answers because you'd have already known the answer because you know what methodology is, which you don't because you're not read up. So by methodology, what I mean here, I'm not going to continue to press you for a definition because you're never going to give a definition because you're shy. You know for a fact if you give a definition, you might slip up and you might look embarrassed. Okay, so meta-ontology is just assessing the conditions for existence, right? Primarily in this context. Now, tell me what defines or what are the defining or what is the defining condition for existence? Please.
I said some type of other like cause that is not God. In that sense, I mean,
Some other cause that is not God. So what do you mean by exist is some other cause which is not God? That's what you mean by exist?
something that causes existence, and then I take some type of physicalist stance
Something
where I
that
accept
causes
that.
existence. That
Okay,
is a retarded definition. That is
wait.
one of
Instead
the
of
most
cutting me off,
retarded definitions I've ever heard in my entire life,
you
by the way.
didn't hear me out, right? I said something other than that is not God is a ultimate cause which causes reality to exist
Okay,
concretely.
so we're gonna
Just
type out the definition from Seibo of what existence is. Okay, so existence. So
independence.
your
Holy
definition
shit!
of existence. Relax, dude. Just just relax. Put that pacifier in your mouth for a second and just take a breather. So
No.
existence. Just repeat the definition.
So
I'm
for
gonna
the
type it
debate
out word for
structure,
word.
right? Since we're debating God's existence, right? Yes, like
No,
that's pretty
just
much.
what's your definition of existence? Stay on topic. Stay on track.
Yeah,
I'm trying my
I'm
best to
trying to
not be retarded.
answer the question. I'm trying to answer the question, right?
Existence. Okay, so
Interrupt.
answer the question right now. Just don't try to basically try to use these word switch ups midpoint while they're trying to answer the question to derail the conversation.
All right.
Existence. What is your definition of existence in the context of ontological conversations or existential claims?
Yeah,
I'm
I
going to
just
type it out.
think reality is concrete. Obviously speaking, as I said, something that is not God. A cause causes reality to exist, therefore existence is.
Existence is something that is not God.
No, I did not say that, right? I
So that
said
means it was a
a
dodge to my
cause
question. We're going to
is.
try again. So my question was me asking you, what is your definition of existence? If you're telling me that what you're saying right now is that you're giving a definition of existence, then that means you're answering or responding to my question. I'm going to ask you again. Existence. Let's start over. Try number two, or strike number two for the retard. Existence. Let's start again. What's your definition?
Okay, so
I don't know why
a
you're tapping into the chat to convince people you're winning the
a
conversation. That's just my
cause
point.
is not God.
Existence.
causes
So existence is a
which
cause, which is not God. What else?
No.
So that was what you just said verbatim. You said a while ago, a cause, which is not God. You want to step? You want
Right?
to play the Reddit game?
I'm trying
You really
to
want to do
give
this?
my
You
answer, and
willing
you
to?
keep
Oh, we can play the Reddit game as much as you want. That's fine. That's lovely. That's lovely. Okay, let's step up the rhetoric. So look at this though. Existence. I'm asking you, what's your defining conditions for existence? Now you said out of your dumb retarded lips or dumb retarded mouth, you said existence is a cause which is not God. Now, if you're going to tell me right now that what you're telling me is not something which is the definition of existence, then essentially it was a dodge to my question. It was a deflection. So we're going to try again. Third try. Existence. What is your definition of existence? And I assume, by the way, that everything which comes out of your mouth after this question is going to be a definition of existence. So what's the definition of existence?
You know what? Right?
Tell
So
me.
try to cut me off this time. Try not to cut me off. Listen clearly. It's not
I'm
the hard.
listening. I'm listening. Go ahead,
Okay, yeah,
respond.
good boy.
Assumption of
Good boy.
posture.
Good
Assumption of
boy. Good
rhetorical
boy.
posture.
I
Good boy, he
no.
says.
I,
Saber
mainly
says while trying to rhetorically posture,
I
thinking he's
think
rhetorically
that
dominant. Yeah, each
distance.
time he thinks that he calls someone a good boy, he thinks he's going to be rhetorically persuasive. But is Saber going to answer the question?
See,
Or just trying to
he
posture
gave
because he's a
Cameron
retard?
an
Let's
answer.
see.
Holy shit! Shut
Waiting
up.
for the answer. Waiting
Right.
for the answer.
I simply said that existence is caused by a cause which is not God, but concretely exists.
Existence is a
And he
cause.
basically
Existence is repeat.
no
Wait, hold on.
existence is
Mumbo
not
jumbo time.
oh my lord.
Oh, you're
Okay,
spewing
no.
mumbo jumbo. You're spewing
Here's
mumbo
the thing.
jumbo.
Here's
The
the thing.
vacuous mumbo
Here's
jumbo.
oh lord,
Repeat back the sentence. Let's go slowly. We're going to type it out together. Okay? Existence is, you're scared for me to type out the definition because you know for a fact the moment I type out the word for it, dumb shit you say. You can't lie about you never saying this because you have it typed down in the chat. So we're going to go slowly. Just repeat the words very slowly so that we know for a fact that no one is getting their words incorrect or no one misheard it. So existence is caused by a cause which is not God but concretely exists. That's your definition? Retard?
that's what I would
You
say.
spook?
Something existing to be. Existence as a whole is something concrete, and then there's a space which
Existence as a whole is
something
something
which is
concrete.
concrete.
Wait, stop. Don't talk while I'm typing out the word. Just let me type this out first, and then we'll get back. Existence as a whole is something which is concrete. You signed up for this proposition, right? Retard? Check the chat.
Do you have any type of objection or no?
Hold on. Do you sign off on it? Yes or no?
Sign off with this. I mean, you know what? So we can
That's
get
what he
past
said
this
verbatim.
point.
We
So
are
we can
typing
get
out what you're
past
saying
this
in real
fucking
time.
point.
We're
Go
typing
ahead.
out what you're saying in real time. So you cannot say you don't sign off with this because you just said it. Yes or no? Do you sign off with this?
To get past this point, you know what? Sure, go ahead. Holy shit! Because when I
Get
try and
past
speak,
this point, it's an obvious yes. You just said this verbatim. Anyway, so moving on. So before, and just to be clear for the audience, by the way, and for the recording and people who watch this recording, all right? When I demolish or expose the retarded nature of this definition or this point, he cannot say that I'm strong man in his position. He cannot say that I'm misinterpreting his position, nor can he say that he didn't say this because we have it typed out in the chat. So you cannot lie about you never saying this, like what the retards do when they get caught in a rat trap. Okay, lovely. Now, do you believe it is logically possible for there to be non-concrete existence?
no. Well, I would just assign to a modal anti-realist and accept only one possible world.
Yes or no?
So again, I just okay. Wait, when you say logically possible, are you like affirming some type of modal realist like thing? Or are you like saying, oh yeah, listen,
No, you dumbass. Obviously not. It's conceptually open to both modal fictionalism and modal realism. Now answer my question. Yes or no? Come on, dude. I believe in you, son. Answer the question.
okay. So you're asking me, right? The question. You know,
Oh, he
this
doesn't
time,
understand the
cut me
question.
off.
He's lost in
You
the
can't
sauce.
cut me off.
He's
You know,
lost in the sauce. You're
oh,
lost in the sauce, dude.
oh, you know,
Answer
can
the
you not?
question, you dumbass nigga. Answer the
Can
question.
you like
Yes or no?
not cut me off? Yes or no?
Can you
Can I
just
just?
answer the question? Yes or no?
Just
So
how
you're
many
asking me.
times do I have to kill you, sweetheart? Oh hell no.
I don't know who that guy was, but anyways, answer the question.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're asking me if it's
Is
logically
it
possible or
logically
something
possible?
really exists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, is it logically
Say
possible?
when it something non-concrete to
Is it
exist.
logically possible for there to be a non-concrete existence? Yes or no? Is that logically possible?
I would be denying that because of contradictions.
You'll be denying this because what? Sorry.
Because of course, contradictions within the ontology of existence. I mean, it's pretty simple. You should have already deducted that, but I have to explain that because you're wouldn't want to insult you, but go ahead.
The stutter is embarrassing. So let's
That
just
is
go
what
back.
it's done.
So I ask you this question not because I don't believe there's a logical contradiction given your definition, but to test your consistency, to see if you're going to trap yourself in it like a retard. So you're consistent with your dumb definition. That's fine. So what do you define as concrete?
Defined as concrete, something which is actually existing, mind independent.
Okay, so you understand that like this is not the general definition of what concrete means in philosophy.
Okay, can you go ahead and wait?
Prove
Just
that
a
claim?
question. Wait, hold on. No,
I'm to prove that.
I
That's
didn't.
easy. I can prove it right now. You want me to prove
No,
it?
I
Yes or
didn't say
no?
prove that. No, I didn't say
Okay,
prove
gotcha.
that.
So what do you want me to
Ask-
answer?
No, okay, right. So no clowning off this
Mm-hmm.
time, please. I would appreciate that. But mainly speaking, do you think there's something wrong with my semantical content? Yes or no?
So that doesn't really answer my question. That doesn't really just my
I'm
right.
asking you a
So
question.
I'm
You
at,
can go ahead
you
and
you always do this thing. So guys, this is the dumb fuck debate strategy stage one. So when they get asked a question, they ask the person another question to deviate from the actual question, and then accuse the person of dodging their question, which is irrelevant to the original question. Now I'm gonna re-ask the question, which is, do you understand that your definition of concreteness or concrete existence is not is not reflective of the conventional definition of concrete, both in a layman interpretational sense and in a academic philosophical scholastic sense? Yes or no? Do you understand?
Can you? I just asked you if you had any type of problems, which you're now affirming. So you can go ahead and explain. Yes or no?
So the dumb fuck debate strategy on display stage one again. So ask me a question instead of answer my question. I ask the question first, answer my question.
So you asked me if I understand. I'm putting the thing you said into question. Go ahead, just go ahead, explain or just define what philosophically, academically speaking.
That doesn't
Or
answer my
it's not
question. I've asked you a
precisely.
simple yes or no question. Every single time I ask you a simple yes or no question, you make the question more complex than it actually is, and don't respond to the question. It's like I always even
Answer
get
the
into that.
question. Answer the question. Answer the
My
question. Shut your white
name
ass up,
is
bitch made off,
my
nigga.
name is
Fuck
Saban.
is
If I
this
tell
lame
you,
nigga talking
Who is
about?
this guy,
Hey,
dude?
nigga, hey, wait,
Are
wait.
you his
How is
boyfriend or
that
something?
to your
Are you his
jail now,
boyfriend or
bitch made off?
something? Who is this
And
guy?
bullseye, nigga.
Ah,
What's
his
wrong with you?
boyfriend stepping
Dirty
into the
ass as fuck.
conversation to
Fuck, smell
basically
your
just give him
dirty
some
ass.
running
Nigga, I'm
points.
not speaking your
Ah,
pussy.
look at him.
Nigga,
He
speaking
thinks
your
that
pussy.
mocking me in the
Like ass nigga.
sidelines is going to give his boyfriend some
British
rhetorical
ass. Bitch,
points.
shut your white
And
ass
no
up.
one is
Bitch
going to
made
mute
off,
him, by
nigga.
the way. And
That
say
nigga bleeding out.
he's
Fuck is
loving
wrong
this.
with you?
He's loving the
That nigga got
fact that
three
someone
strikes, bro.
interrupts
That nigga got
debate
three feet.
Saban
That nigga's
from the
fucking dead
tax
discount on
strike
tax
because
on
of
one
the
because of
entire
fucking
time.
powers,
So
bro.
look
What
at
is
this.
wrong
He
with
just
this
keeps
nigga?
on going,
This
no
nigga's my bitch, bro.
moderation, no
What is
muting
wrong with
because
this dirty
this is
ass
what the
nigga? What's
server
wrong with this
loves. The
ugly ass
server
nigga?
loves seeing
This nigga's
Saban
my
getting
bitch, bro. My
saved when he
ugly
gets
ass,
tanked
cheap
into the
shit,
conversation.
pounding
And
ass
by the
nigga.
way,
Shut
we
your white
cleared this.
bitch
Just to be
made off.
super clear,
all
we
right,
have
all
this
right.
on
Fun
the
is over. Fun is
recording. We
over.
have
Has
this
to
on the
chill.
clip. So
Fun
this
is
is
over.
embarrassing for not just
Fun is
Sable, but his
over.
boyfriends also.
Fun
Thank
is
you very much for
over.
the person who muted him. But let's just get back. And by the way, Sable, just because your boyfriend interrupted just to save you a while ago, I still remember the post because I have great tracking skills, I have great memory, I have great articulation, and a
Fuck
great
ass
level of
nigga.
Oh
intelligence.
Fuck smell
So
my
you,
I
dirty
just
god,
told him
bro.
again
nigga.
and again. He
Ain't
didn't
your
Yo,
interrupt
shit,
me
bro,
again. So
nigga.
why are you
Fuck
gonna
you,
keep on
bro,
fuck you,
stop.
interrupting?
ugly
Keep on
nigga.
Oh
interrupting?
Shut the
my
fuck up.
god.
Oh, look at
You're
the
my
boyfriend.
son,
He
Dude,
didn't
ugly
interrupt
nigga.
to save his kiddo. Look at the
yo,
son. Look at this kid.
dude.
What a moron. What an imbecile. Just want to step into the conversation. And Sable loves this. He's on mute,
Like,
hoping that the conversation derails. Now back to you, Sable. I don't forget the question, by the way, as I've told you, because my memory speed
dude,
and
just tell me
as far as tracking
the
speed
question. Like,
is unparalleled. So I'm telling you right now, my question was me asking you, do you understand that your definition of concrete in the context of that specific definition is not in conformity with the colloquial and the academic definition? Yes or no?
and I
Do
ask
you
you to.
accept that it is in conformity with it, or do you reject it? Which one is it?
So again, you said or just made the affirmative claim that my definition is not in alignment with academically, philosophically, or just
I'm hearing
layman terms.
everything but a yes or a no to my question.
I'm putting
Do-do-do-do-do.
your affirmative claim, which followed the question.
Affirmative claim. Affirmative claim.
So you go ahead and provide the definition instead of like
Someone
just
can ask if you understand something which is false without making the claim that it's true. That's not an affirmative claim. I'm not making any claim to my question. I'm asking you, do you understand this to be the case? You could just say, I don't accept it to be the case. I'll be like, oh, okay, cool. Without me affirming that it is in fact. So
clearly
answer my
if I'm
question, yes or no.
asking you to provide a
He
philosophical
just
definition.
won't answer the question. He just won't answer the question. He just won't
To
answer.
answer the question. I want the definition to answer the
So
question.
he's not answering the question. So that's a dodge. This is a deflection. He just won't answer the question. So since you just won't answer any questions because you just don't have the intellectual and mental acuity and faculty to engage with basic questions, basic one-dimensional, simple, rudimentary questions, I'm going to do the job for you, and then I'm going to give my perspective on my own question, which is directed towards you, which you're dodging and running away from like using Bolt. The answer is yes, I do in fact understand, Apollo, that this is in fact not in conformity with the academic definition and the layman definition. And the reason as to why I understand this, Apollo, is because when I check the definition of concreteness on SCP, it's defined in virtue of spatial-temporal relations, a spatial-temporal object. That is not the indication that you mentioned in this conversation. So yes, Apollo, I understand this. You see, Sable, I just took your role in this conversation, answered the very simple question, and just taught you how to answer questions. That's how you answer questions, Sable. You don't go off on derail points and try to rant and meta rant into irrelevant stuff and try to basically get the person making an affirmative claim. You just say a yes or a no, and then give your perspective afterwards. That's how you answer questions, son. So moving forward, I expect you to learn something for the mini lecture. Now, we're going to do this again. You said that your definition of existence is going to be that which is concrete existence, which is mind independent. So that means your definition of existence is that which is mind independent, correct?
So
Correct.
no, hold on.
The answer is an obvious yes. It is
Just,
correct.
I
See, you
have
just
to
can't answer questions. I'm going to take Saba's rule again. Yes, Apollo, that is correct because I specifically defined concrete existence into my definition of existence and into concreteness to be mind independence. The answer is yes, Apollo. Okay, Saba, the answer is yes. So you have to do your job for you because you're retarded. So the answer is yes, Saba. Okay, gotcha. Cool. Now, I'm going to ask you another question. Because I just can't answer questions, I'm going to have to do it for you, even though it's obviously a yes, given the entailments of what they've said previously. So, with that being said into perspective, do you think that imaginations exist? Do you think you have imaginations? Yes or no?
Oh my! You know what? I'm gonna explain something to you real quick. Like, can I just
Okay,
go
maybe I
ahead?
have to take Saba's role again. I have to take Saba's role again. Do I have to do this again, like the third time? Yes or no? Do you agree that imaginations exist? Not mind independently, but do you agree they exist? Yes or no? Do you have imaginations?
So I'm trying to like give some type of like response, but I keep getting cut off. I know. I wonder why
Yeah,
that
you're
is.
not giving the response to my question. You're just talking to yourself and just talking
Yeah,
about something
because your
else. I don't know what you're
question,
talking.
I feel like a fully
Mm-hmm.
explained thing, which isn't too long. I'm pretty sure can simply just go ahead and give you like some
You,
type.
you just don't. You just can't answer questions, can't you? You just can't answer
No,
questions.
because you think no, because like let me
My
just
God,
explain.
dude.
You think somehow that oh yeah, if I ask a yes or no question constantly and consistently
Do do
through the
do.
thing without action. Okay,
Waiting for the answer, Lothar. Waiting for the answer.
so I'm gonna go ahead and explain some real quick. Now, no cutting off this time. Like, can I get some
Waiting for the
moderation?
answer. Yes or
Can
no?
we get some
Do you have
moderation
imaginations?
so I can go ahead and speak?
Do you
I
have
would.
do you have imaginations, dude?
Can I get some moderation so I can speak before he
You
tries to
need
cut me off?
moderation to say a yes or no.
I just don't want you to cut me off so I can actually speak, preferably
I
within
won't
the.
cut you off if you say yes or no, which are the only relevant responses.
No, that is not the only relevant responses.
And this is the
Oh
only relevant response because the question
no,
is talking about whether or not you agree to disagree on something. So if you're saying something outside of you agreeing to disagree on it, then it would be irrelevant by definition.
no, because I have like a lot to say about some of the claims you've been making
A lot
through.
outside of you agreeing to disagreeing, then that means it's irrelevant.
No, it's not outside. It's within the said things brought up within the convo. That's what's
You're
relevant.
stuttering, you're fumbling, you're stumbling, you're stammering. You
Not
know for a fact you're saying
literally.
nonsense. You know it. You
So
know it
you've been
deep down, but your
focused on
debate bro
debating
intuitions don't want to actually accept it. Your debate bro mentality don't want to accept the very
see,
obvious reality. If you dodge in my question because you're a low tier, right? So I'm gonna try. I'm just asking if you agree to disagree on something. That's all I'm asking, dude. Do you agree that you have imagination, Sable? Not a trick question.
so I'm
Have you ever
gonna go ahead
imagined
and
something, Sable?
speak
Have you ever
again.
imagined the Santa Claus?
Bullshit.
Answer. Wait.
So again, right?
10 seconds.
I just put you on local mute real quick so I can actually fucking speak. Holy shit, man.
10, 9,
Oh,
8,
right. So
7,
specifically speaking, I'm gonna
6.
go ahead and give a response and
Okay, so he
mainly.
starts responding. Let's see if he's going to answer the question.
So one thing I just want to go back onto was another point was the philosophical
Go back
definition.
on to something else. Oh, so you're not going to answer the question. You're going to go to something else, a previous point. Okay, cool. That's a dodge again.
I'm gonna go
This is what
back
I'm talking
because
about.
like, I had a response, but I wasn't allowed to like fucking speak because that like fucking guy came in.
You did not have a relevant response. I can grant you the response, but it was a irrelevant trash response to my question. So I'm going to have to cut you off and put you back on track.
Good lord, bro! Holy shit, man. So real quick, can I just get some type of moderation to get this guy to shut up and like so I can speak? Like I've been asking for that
This
for a
guy just
while.
won't answer any questions. Oh my god, dude.
The guy packing
I'll give
interrupting.
you 30 seconds to talk.
The
I'll go on
guy
mute right now.
severely.
And let's see if we're gonna actually respond to my question.
Okay, so he's finally on mute. Holy shit, man! Right. So the thing I want to get into, mainly speaking wise, was the thing about like the definitions point, so I can actually argue on that point and fucking defend myself instead of you claiming, oh yeah, it's incorrect or not colloquial with the specific academic philosophical definition, right? You made that claim, right? I want to sit here and try and go against that claim, provide some type of actual response which is sufficient for my own point, right? Instead of you consistently cutting me off. So for the recording, to be honest, he keeps cutting me off because he's actually a little scared fucking pussy, right? So I hope that hurt his ego too. So when I say concretely existing, I just mean it's fucking physical.
Oh, hey,
He didn't
I'm unmuted now.
Stop,
Damn.
stop.
Yo,
Alright.
actually, ask to stop, bro. Ask to stop.
I'm just trying to speak. I get like too many fucking interruptions, bro. Holy shit, man. So when I said something concretely exists, I said I'm taking a physicalist stance where everything's preserved within space time. Like that's what a physicalist should accept. Everything's fucking physical, where it's like grounded by that. That's like the implications of that specific stance. Like that's the implications. I'm not saying I verbatim stated that, but that should be within the specific taken thing. When I sit here and say, oh yeah, it's physical in that sense, because before I got forced to agree to a specific definition, that's something I said, right? But even then, concretely existing should have that implicated because, as you said, it's temporal, like space-time fucking relations, fucking like implicated with that. It's relationship indicative of that, right? That's what you even said. So I don't see why, by definition, would it fail to align specifically, even if it has the implicatives, right? Concretely existing. So something concretely existing. Existence is within space-time. Like again, if there's something wrong with that view, I want some type of response towards that worldview, which kind of goes against that semantic entailment. Because severely speaking, wise, I don't see why you're saying, "Oh yeah, it's not necessarily the same way,"
Wrap it
but
up.
then not going ahead and providing why for why again. Like you just definition,
Yeah, I
you
can
didn't
finish
provide
now. Yeah, that's it.
any specific
Yeah,
definition. I
so
granted is
20
wrong.
seconds of our
No, no,
time
no, no, no,
have
no,
been
no, no,
wasted.
no, no, no,
Oh,
no,
he's
no,
not
no,
done
no,
yet.
no, 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 no,
Finish
no,
up. He's not done. Thank you, bro. No, 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 no,
Let
no,
me
no,
see
no,
what.
no, 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 no. No, 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 no,
Yeah,
no.
bro. Guys,
No, no, no,
guys,
no, no, no. He sounds autistic. He
guys,
can't even track us. He sounds
guys.
You're
autistic.
not going to speak over me. Shut the
guys.
fuck up. Holy shit, man.
You've been speaking over me the entire time. We've been speaking over each other the entire
Literally
time.
let me. I'm
We've been
supposed to
speaking
fucking
over each other, you
Oh my God,
moron.
look. Oh my God, look. Wait. Siba. I'm gonna put you on mute real quick. Look, guys. For the whole VC, who do you guys want to speak for now? Because to be honest, I don't think I'm properly tracking the convo. So for anybody in this VC, who do you guys want to speak? Is it Apollo or is it, or I'm about to say Axel, or is it Seiba? Please tell me in the VC or tell me in chat. Do not waste our fucking time. If not, all right, Apollo said himself, he'll let Seiba finish. All right, cool. Now, I'll make sure, right? Now, even if Seiba like yaps too much, I'll just make sure that till he's done, like I'm going to just apply complete moderation. So when a person is done speaking, I'll get the other person who was speaking prior muted, and then the other person can get his response done. So there's no interruption. Because to be honest, like it's just getting annoying now. Is this Seiba? Yeah, it's Seiba. You can go speak.
All right, fucking finally. Holy shit, we got some moderation. I'm glad. So specifically again, If you want me to give a more concise repetition of my point as I was trying to get or just grant, I said that my definition wouldn't necessarily not align because specifically speaking, you said, oh yeah, which is concretely existing. Existence would be implied to have some type of entailment of existing within some type of spatio-temporal space. As you said, that's what concretely existing is. I said obviously that would have the implications of being like physical. And even then, before, I agreed to the specific definition or sat there and, said, oh yeah, for the sake of moving on from this point about definitions, of course, for meta-ontological analysis, I sat there and specifically stated something which is, of course, caused by something that is not God, right? And then I proceeded to sit there and say, followed by this, right? Just make sure you're listening. It was followed by something concretely existing in some type of physicalist thing that is concretely existing, which you even granted existing within spatio-temporal things, right? So if you're gonna sit here and say, oh yeah, this still does not align with the definition, despite granting that said analytics, you're gonna make yourself look even more fucking retarded now that I'm actually capable of actually fucking speaking and not going on this, oh yeah, answer this yes or no, fucking TikTok fucking star fucking going in, oh yeah, double or not, give it to the next person looking ass. Holy shit, man. That's what got me angry because I keep going on this shit, right? But moving on to another point. You're asking me if imaginations exist, right? My definition is only aligned towards physical things. And then you ask me, oh yeah, is it logically possible for non-concrete things to exist? If you're gonna sit here and say, oh yeah, I'm gonna use imagination to sit here and prove this to you that it's logically possible. My definition is only bilateral, which bilateral is only thing assigned to one specific thing. That means it's applied towards concretely existing. It's not unilateral with, subjective experience. If you think subjective experience is the same as concretely existing within the same space or something like that, you're going to choose a conflation, the stance of that. And I want you to go ahead and give the, justification for the said worldview or conflation, the stance about those two specific existences, about reality, right? Holy shit, man. I'm finally able to speak, right? Let's get on to the other point real quick. Again, I want to, track over this point about God's existence, just the definitions point, right? I was trying to ask you under the operation, oh yeah, is it agreeing or trying to sit here and say, oh yeah, let's just argue over this specific definition, which then you answered like fucking three attempts later, you sat there and say, oh yeah, it's agreeing, right? Again, I was trying to give my own definition and obviously say, oh yeah, it's not in alignment with, specifically Abrahamic religions. I was talking about my analytics, not your analytics. Okay. So we can finally track instead of you having this fucking, mic control, conversation control with, now that we have moderation, I can finally fucking speak and, just stop being an asshole about things and just let things flow continuously so we can actually have a proper conversation. Stop being bad faith. And there's my fucking responses towards specific things and affirmative claims, right? Your affirmative claim being, oh yeah, it does not line up with, the philosophical definitions when clearly it does. If the concrete is being used, that definition has to be implied because that's what's, typically speaking about existence. And even if you want to say, oh yeah, that's a pause, that's the specific thing I want to bring up. Holy shit, man. It's still implied. And I wanted you to, it's just semantically ambiguous because you can't figure it out, but informally you already figured it out, so I don't see why, that would have any problems because, first of all, you just defined it and then you said, oh yeah, that's not your
Wait,
definition.
wait. My bad. Hold on.
Holy shit,
Wait.
you don't find any fucking problem with the definition I provided. Holy shit, man. Go ahead.
Give me a second. Hold on. Let me put you on mute real quick. I have to do something, so I'll go on mute. I'll let Apollo talk. For the meantime, just give me a second. Apollo, you can respond now. I'll need to go on mute because I need to do something.
Shinra, how many more minutes do you have left? You can answer my DMs. Fucking embarrassing. Okay, just keep on recording, please, and thank you. Let's try to wrap this up in like 30 minutes or something. This is like this guy's retarded. So just to respond to what he said, he just yaps on forever and not say anything of substance. His original definition of concrete was just to be mind dependent. Now he's changed the definition because it educated him on what concrete actually is, which is something being spatial temporal, as something which has physicalist commitments and implications. Meaning that given this definition, you cannot have a non-physical thing whatever. Now, first and foremost, by a spatial temporal thing, and you can unmute them afterwards, because I want yes or no questions, because yes or no answers, because what he's doing is the reason as to why is that he has an issue with these yes or no type questions is because it draws him out into him having to make explicit claims and make explicit beliefs or express his explicit beliefs, to which he does not want to happen because he knows for a fact that the moment you understand what these beliefs actually are, he'll get exposed to being a retard, and it's easier to criticize and expose his position with contradictions and flaws. Now, your position here about a physical thing, which is something which is spatial temporal, entails a contradiction, because there are things within science, given the definition, which would not be physical given your definition, which, by the way, are the types of things which are existent in reality. So, for example, one of the things is the continuum in the what's it called again? So, the event horizon is one example of a black hole, and in a single space-time continuum, for example, no, it's not a single space-time continuum, but it is basically going to be something which has infinite density, which means that it has zero volume. There are things with zero volume which exist in the universe, by the way, and things with zero volume, by definition, do not have spatial extensions. They don't have length, they don't have height, and they don't have width. However, they still exist. It's something which scientists have confirmed to exist. Albert Einstein, using his mathematical equations, has predicted and proven these things' existence before they're empirically observed back in 2017, for example. So these things would entail a contradiction in your definition, because we have things which are not spatially extended, which are still the types of things which do in fact exist. So do you want to still hold to this definition, or do you want to change your definition to accommodate something which maps onto the general concept of existence, which is not contradicted by the way, scientists, right, in the field of science and physics, or by just basic facts we know about in the universe, at least if we're not as retarded as you are and as uneducated as you are. So we're going to answer the question. We're going to keep on giving another ranting session about how you cry or how you love crying about me interrupting your point to get a yes or no to my question. Which one is it? Are you going to give a response? You can mute me now, by the way. Yeah.
Can you answer the question, sir?
Answer, bro. Shut the fuck up. I got him.
Finally,
You can
so
talk now.
the thing you mentioned with black holes, that they have like zero spatiality, was that like one of the things like that you said? I just want to make sure, because it seems like
Yeah, he said that. He said that.
yeah, I'm just making sure I'm tracking right. So black holes just have warped space times. I mean, it's just like, so let me explain. Black holes are warping space time to such a mass effect that not even light can escape them. Like, it's just basic shit. I mean, like, it's just warping the space from them. The time there, you might not say it's position, correctly as like as I'm like, just say for example, relativity. For an example, relativity can be used to try and understand black holes. Relativity basically, there's like the time, not the time, the speed formula. Travel over distance. I think you gotta think back to fucking 8th grade science. But mainly speaking, wise, just T over D is travel over distance, and mainly the black holes seemingly have an effect on such a scale that gravity around them seems to be so strong that it pulls in other things with gravitational fields, things of course of that nature. Space, if space was not to be existent, then gravity would not have any type of grounds within a black hole to have that type of thing where its gravity is so strong. You'd be denying gravity, of course, would not have any type of grounds for black holes. But the problem is that black holes have such a strong gravity that it brings in things from that, and it bends light to such an extent of that, right? So space is indeed required for gravity to be grounded. Otherwise, you'd be saying, oh yeah, since gravity is not grounded in this specific area, despite things, of course, using such a strong gravitational pull that it pulls light in there. Unless you want to say, oh yeah, the density part. So let me tell you this, right? Density. Hold on, let me just like, because so gravity influences density. Do you not know that? Like, do you not know what density is? Density, for an example, the measure of how much a mass is contained in a given volume, calculated by dividing an object's mass by its volume, right? So, can I ask you a question? What is your definition of mass in terms of a nomological standard? Can you go ahead and answer that? Just like unmute him for a second, then put him back on mute so I can actually properly, continue my point. I just want his clarification if he has some type of, I would say distorted view of like our sciences, maybe because he's sitting there saying we lack spatio-temporal relationships, despite black holes. Of course, in that sense. So,
All right, Apollo, you can answer his question. Go ahead, since I muted you.
Chat.
you didn't track the question.
I want him to finish his yapping session first, and I'll respond to every single thing afterwards and debunk his points with evidence.
Because
Go ahead
my
and finish
point-
your yapping session. I'm not gonna answer your real questions when you're not even answering basic fucking yes or no questions. You're gonna finish your yapping, then I'll respond afterwards. You begged for this type of speaking pattern where you're gonna be taking talking stick, whereas you don't get the chance or you don't get the opportunity to answer my yes or no questions. Now you're trying to force me to answer your questions when it benefits you. Get the fuck out of here, dude. You're gonna finish your yapping session first, then afterwards I'll debunk all the nonsensical bullshit you've been saying on physics. Go ahead and finish. Go ahead and
Sure.
All right. Seiba, by the way,
Listen,
you should of course continue, because with this, nothing's gonna progress. So go ahead.
So again, like this is like so again, like it just has attraction. I mean, density is of course, it has fundamentals within mass. It's just dependent on the said mass of a thing. But that's the attraction, of course, within the mass. Like, I wouldn't say it's attraction, but no, like mass just has attraction in a sense. Right? So specifically speaking about black holes, you would still require some type of gravitational thing and grounded formation. So if you're sitting there saying black holes have just this amount of density, sure, that's fine, but saying that they have no spatio-temporal relationship despite having warped space-time and the fact of gravitational bounds where it's grounded in that sense by the space they are capable of forming. I mean, like that's just basic preservation. And do you have any type of reductive towards what I'm saying? Go ahead.
Wait, hold on. That's it, right?
I mean, yeah, it depends if he wants to speak. So go ahead. I mean, explain
All
black
right.
holes.
All right. Bye. Now, Apollo. Oh fuck, hold on. Yeah, right here. All right, you can speak
final.
now.
I'm about to demolish this point or these points he's mentioned, and after I'm done, the space-based flip wrapped up. Right. So where should I even start? So basically, just to make it clear what the type of objection I'm given here, because you're unfamiliar with this objection, there's something in philosophy called the Hempel's dilemma, and this is something which even scientists face even to this day, and it's their inability to give a proper definition of what it means for something to be physical, right? Because given a lot of definitions what it means for something to be physical, there are either contradictions or things which would exist but are not within the category of that which is physical. Now, with respect to what you're talking about here, the point I'm making is simply that your definition of something being physical, or sorry, for something existent, is that which is physical, that which is spatio-temporal. If something is spatio-temporal, then by definition, and I repeat, by definition, it has spatial extensionality. That's height, length, or width, because we know that in physics, right, space has 3 dimensions, and I repeat, 3 dimensions, you Mongolian uneducated monkey. There's 3 dimensions: height, length, and width. I repeat, height, length, and width. There are things in the universe, you dumb fuck, which do not possess height, length, nor width. And these are things with infinite density. Infinite density implies zero volume. Zero volume entails lack of lack of spatial extensionality. I can send the screenshots, by the way, demonstrating this, just to be clear on this. I'll just send the screenshots because you think for some reason that I'm not informed of the topic or physics. And then afterwards, I'm going to educate you on the distinction between the singularity of a black hole and the black hole itself, because for some reason you think I'm making the claim that black hole has no sort of spatial relation or causal relation in space. I'm not making that claim. I'm talking about the singularity of a black hole, you retard. So here are these two things. Okay. So 3 screenshots. We're going to read them together. Or rather, I'm going to read it for you because you cannot read and you can't really understand basic sentences. So if you read these screenshots properly, you'll see, according to the classical theory of general relativity, a black hole's singularity, not the black hole itself holistically, the black hole's singularity, dumb fuck, is a point of infinite density where all its mass is compressed into zero volume. This has been confirmed by Einstein's mathematical equations. This is a universally agreed upon fact in science and physics and by mathematicians, by the way, mathematicians. Now they proceed to say, however, modern physics suggests this infinite density is a placeholder for our incomplete understanding, indicating where the laws of physics break down. Blah, 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 blah. Now, the other screenshot talks about what is zero volume. I just basically Googled this for you to understand. Zero volume means an object has no three-dimensional extent, occupying no space, and existing only as a point. While physically impossible for any real-world object, physically impossible, they're just saying impossible by physical constraints, this is a theoretical concept used in mathematics and physics, such as the point at the intersection. So it's physically impossible, but not logically impossible. Insofar as given your definition of physical, for example, it would be possible. It actually exists. Now, the third screenshot says, yes, in physics, infinite density implies, I don't know who's talking to the background. Is someone talking? Okay.
No, no
yes,
one is.
in physics, who is that talking?
That was me. I said no one is talking in the background.
I heard your voice multiple times while I was talking, so that's the voice I kept on hearing. So yeah, yes, in physics, infinite density implies zero volume for a finite mass. Density is calculated as mass divided by volume, etc., etc. So we get the gist here. Say about whatever the fuck this retard's name is, right? There are things in the universe with infinite density. Things such as the singularity of a black hole which actually fucking exist. Things with infinite density entails that having zero volume. If you have zero volume, then there's no spatial extensionality. Therefore, it would not be within the category of something which is physical, given your own definition. Given your definition of what it means for something to be physical and for something to exist, this thing, which has been confirmed by the evidence to exist, by scientists to exist, by even people like Albert Einstein, by mathematical equations to exist, would not fucking exist. And that's retarded. That's the obvious reduction to your fucking definition. And this is called the Hempel's dilemma, where you basically point out an issue with the definitions with respect to what it means for something to be physical. If you're defining physical in virtue of the ideal physics or the current physics or the past physics, right? So I'm going to rerun the points again, right? And then attack your black hole argument. Now, with respect to the black hole argument, I'm not telling you that the black hole itself is not physical, retard. I'm saying the singularity of a black hole, given your own definition, is not physical. There's a distinction between the black hole as a whole, which is the entire region of a space-time where gravity is so intense that nothing can even escape it, and the singularity of the black hole, which is the exact center of a black hole, whereas the mathematics of general relativity predicts what lies there. There's a distinction there. The singularity of a black hole is different from the entire black hole itself. Right? It's the point. It's a point. It's a mathematical fucking point, which has no extensions by definition. If you knew mathematics, if you knew physics, you know that that thing or any point in mathematics or in physics do not have spatial extensions, and there are such things which are confirmed to exist in this universe. That's the obvious reduction. Now, hopefully, I'll get a relevant response which actually attacks the facts that are presented by physicists, by the way, by mathematicians, by the way, or I can get something which is a philosophical argument, perhaps, which undermines my argument. But until then, I don't think that you're going to be any person with any level of credibility, because currently credibility is in the entire source right now, given the continuous number of blunders, evasions, prevarications, obfuscations, and dodges that you've committed in this conversation. Now, hopefully, let's hear a response to the dumb fucks. Give a response, retard.
All right.
Okay,
So-
can you server mute him or
Yeah, there is.
yeah. So one thing I want to address is that you did not clarify a singularity of a black hole. I mean, you just mentioned black holes, so I mean, any type of general conclusion can be assumed from that. Two, even if you want to bring up the logical possibility point, you're saying something that's like not physical in the sense like I guess I can make the claim that sitting there saying, oh yeah, a physical sense, could include other type of concrete existence which can be non-physical. I mean, like you can sit there and accept the physical things exist, and sit there saying, oh yeah, Non-physical things exist because I did just say it's like a physical stance. I didn't say, oh yeah, or deny it universally. If you think that's a universal claim in denying, I would like to say that would be physicalism type B. I'm not taking some type of physicalist type B stance on anyways. I'm just saying, oh yeah, it's concretely existing, that. So I could just sit there and say, oh yeah, that can be inclusive towards what I'm saying because, but the thing is that you asked me if it's logically possible in that sense to, not physical things to exist, of course, I agree that would be a contradiction, but only under the conditional if you were going to use the imagination to sit there and argue for it, because you asked me if imagination or just can like things exist within inside imagination. I gave the conditional for that. So through the dialogue, I would sit there and say, I think the only conditional for the contradiction to actually go through would be if the like imagination thing would go through, and that would be providing for the conflation stance. So I wouldn't sit there and say, "Oh yeah, it's a total disagreement," or sitting there saying, "Oh yeah, it completely debunks your point and agreement." You conceded to this factor, so I win. Ha ha ha. When again, there's a lackage of a universal claim. It's not the same stance. Again, I gave a conditional for the logical possibility. You did not meet that conditional, so of course I would agree. Oh yeah, there's some certain exceptions for logically possible things. I accepted a contradiction in that sense because I was a physicalist, of course. Not type B though, but of course I accepted in that sense the conditional thing. That's one thing I didn't mention, and that's when I was like, yapping for the first time when moderation was actually applied to it. So I mean, either way, we can like argue about existence all you want. We still have to get to the point about God existing. If you want to argue for a black hole being God, I don't know if you're gonna do that, but I mean, preferably, I guess we could just move on to that point and say, oh yeah, this didn't really go anywhere considering the dialogue. But I mean, you can go ahead and give an argument for God. I mean, if you're gonna argue for God in that sense, but again, I still don't see any type of relevance to the point here now, sitting there since you clarify the singularity of a black hole and not, black holes in general, because if you did try and invoke, black holes in general, I would sit there and call you a retard, but clearly you clarified it was a singularity of a black hole that had the infinite density. So I can sit there and say, I didn't completely understand the point because, of course, from the conversation we're having, I would view you as, incredibly, dishonest at that point. But since you clarified, I would say, via knowledge-wise, now that I know that, I guess I can accept, what you're saying. And my bad for the stutter, that's bad. But specifically speaking, I feel like we still have to get to the ontology of God or an argument for God. If you're going to argue it instead of arguing for existence or what we accept existence to be, some type of meta-ontological status, we still have to talk about the concrete entity of God existing since you, of course, accepted you're a theist. So can we move on to that point? Yes or no?
All right.
Hold on. All right,
Yeah, so the imagination point is relevant to what we're talking about, right? The imagination point has no relevance to your definition of existence, which is talking about something being physical. So the reductive given towards your definition, it has no connection to whether or not you believe imaginations exist. I could care less about you believe in imaginations existing right now. At this very point in time, I could care less about that. That was a question that was being offered previously because you were refusing to give a definition of existence. Now that you've given a definition of existence, right, a proper definition, or rather a fair definition, not a proper definition. The definition is still trash, right? Now that you've given the definition, what it means for something to be physical or for something to exist, right? I don't need to ask you the question about imaginations. That's number one. Number two is, right, you don't even understand what's even going on. You don't understand the very fact that your definition of what it means for something to exist entails that there are things which do in fact exist, which don't exist. Things which are empirically and scientifically confirmed to be a part of this universe to not be the types of things which are existent. That's the entailment. That's outside, by the way. So that's the entailment from your definition. Right? That's the entailment of your definition. The entailment of your definition is there being things which are confirmed, which are empirically and scientifically and mathematically confirmed to exist, which don't in fact exist. That's the entailment of your position. And that's a contradiction. That's a contradiction with respect to the conventional, general, proper, coherent understanding of what it means for something to exist, and even towards your own existential, right? Now, you said I've not given a proper distinction between singularity and the black hole itself. I told you the fucking distinction. I told you it. and he did not hear the distinction. Seconds after, I explained what the distinction is between what it means for something to be the singularity of a black hole and what it means for me to talk about the black hole itself. You say that I didn't give a distinction. So it's just a matter of you just failing to track basic points of the conversation. So I'll repeat the definition again. Right? The singularity describes the central point where gravity becomes infinite. And space-time curvature diverges. That's what the singularity is. It's the central point of a black hole where gravity becomes infinite and space-time curvature diverges, right? And that point, because it's a mathematical point, it's a point which is by definition something with no spatial extensionality, is something which by your own definition is not physical and by your own definition does not exist. But we know this exists. We know this exists because you see effects of this given thing which does not have spatial extensionality, which is, for example, the fact of gravity becoming infinite as a result of this thing in existence and space-time curvature divergent. So we know this to exist. We know this thing which does not have spatial extensionality by definition, by its own nature, to exist, given the effects we see within the physical world and physics, right? A black hole, on the contrary, is the entire region of space-time from the event horizon on inward. So it's the entire region, right? That's the difference. So it's like a gravitational trap for everything in the universe, whether it's matter or light. It's a gravitational trap for those things, whereas things cannot escape it. It's the entire region of the gravitational trap. The singularity, on the contrary, is going to be the central point of this gravitational trap, right? Whereas it presents a breakdown of the known physics we are aware of. Sorry.
Imagine
So
like your
there's a
parents
clear
told you
distinction.
that
I don't real quickly.
you can't just
Who's this
hit
talking?
a dog and it ran him over. And
Oh,
then
Shinner's talking in the background. Shinner got to mute this mic.
exaggerating.
So someone mute him for the time being. Someone mute that person, please. Thank you.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is simply that
Yourself.
I've just established a very clear, in-depth, elaborate distinction between the singularity of a black hole and the black hole itself, the entire region of the black hole. So seiba cannot go ahead and claim I've not given a clear distinction because I've done it for the second time in this conversation. So given that explanation, it is the case there's a clear contradiction in this meta-ontology, given his meta-ontology and his existential commitment. He's existentially committed to a physicalist perspective, which is what majority of scientists are, whereas despite that, at the same time, he's not committed to the existence of non-physical things by his own definition, which, by the way, this thing by his own definition, I'm not saying this is the actual definition of physical because there are much better definitions of physical. It's not just a spatio-temporal thing, but he's defining a concrete physical thing to be just spatio-temporal, that's it. Given that definition, there are things which exist which are non-spatio-temporal because there are things without spatial extensionality. And so given his own concept of existence, there is a contradiction. There's a clear, obvious contradiction, and so it's either going to force him into a conceptual or semantical revision. With that being said, there's not really that much to address otherwise. He has committed an obvious blunder on his definition of what it means for something to exist. He's committed obvious blunders on physics and his misunderstanding and conceptions of these concepts in physics. He doesn't even know what infinite density is. He doesn't know what singularity actually is. No, he knows nothing. He really knows nothing, and that's why he keeps on dodging my questions from the beginning of this conversation to even this point in this conversation, where he's not even addressing and responding to my actual points here. So, to wrap things up, Algen, because Shin has to go literally right now, I'll end the recording right here. We can judge based off these points, right? These points of him basically being confused about what it means for something to exist. These points in meta-ontology, right? Because I'm not going to be debating you whether there's a power coordinate bot. I'm going to be debating knowing that there's an obvious coordinate because it captures what I'm saying much better, and power coordinate bot is laggy as fuck, right? So we can end things off right here because Shin got to go literally right now. You got to work in like a couple minutes. And then from there on, we can either continue the conversation or we judge or determine who wins this debate based on the points that are being argued in this conversation, which, by the way, you got literally ripped apart. You got fucking embarrassed. You got turned inside out. There's no possible way in which you can look back on this fucking conversation and not be fucking embarrassed and take a fucking lecture or a note from this. There's no possible way, unless you're delusional as fuck. So that's basically the whole point I got to make here. If you have any more responses you want to offer on here, give responses which I thought was going to be attacking my argument. But if you have no other responses, we can either head to conclusions or just end things off here, and that's it for the debate.
All right. See, but you can go ahead.
So before you end the recording, I got one final response. I've been saving this since you want to end the recording. So the original topic was a discussion about God's existence, not necessarily existence. He just wanted to question me about existence. And I gave a conditional for my acceptance for specific contradictions when coming to mind independent things about logical possibilities. I asked him if there was a motor realist stance. He said no. And obviously speaking wise, so I'm gonna go over my course of the conversation. I'll provide this final response. Then we can sit there and end the recording because this guy wants to rush today because Shinra has to go. But mainly speaker wise, the original conversation was for God's existence. I didn't see an argument for God's existence. Mainly, we just discussed over my definition for meta ontology, despite originally the conversation being, of course, starting off with specific definitions for speaking wise God's existence. And he got confused in the first part where he, of course, sat there and said, "Oh yeah, my definition's out of alignment." When I sat there and asked him, "Is it in alignment?" he agreed to that and conceded that it was in alignment with Abrahamic religions via giving the 99 names of, a person I can't, the thing I believe in, I can't really say because of the room I'm in. But the thing is that he agreed to that. And he got confused and said, "I'm the one saying that his definition is not in line with that," despite me saying that my analytics were in question, were specifically, of course, in alignment with being a disagreement to Abrahamic things. So, and then he, asked, "Oh yeah, do you agree to my, definition so we can get on with this specifically, right?" And even then, I, of course, sat there and asked him for what operation are we talking about? Of course, arguing for the definition, or are we taking stances on the definition or an agreement, right? So he repeated the question a few times despite me asking the clarifying question. Then he finally answered when I didn't, and he just kept asking yes or no questions, which, of course, was an attempt to look rhetorical, but he did not look rhetorical. He just looked retarded, not answering the fucking questions because he kept fucking pesterizing or, of course, just fucking procrastinating to try and run away from the said questioning, right? So again, following from that point, we went on to meta ontology, and he kept confusing my definitions because apparently he kept cutting me off, right? So my definition was basically existence is something that is caused by a cause that is not God, but concretely exists, of course, in that sense, and takes up something with a physicalist thing, right? I didn't take physicalism type B because I made the distinction towards the ending of the recording. But of course, since we're of course going to end the recording, it's going to be in there. I'll try and find the timestamp. But I clarified I was not taking some type of physicalist type B stance, which would accept all processes, including consciousness, etc., concrete things are physical, right? That would include singularities. But of course, the conditional in question, which I prepped up, was of course my response towards him ready to conflate imagination with logical possibilities and concrete reality, right? So I even asked him, "Are you talking about some type of moral realist stance? Of course, when you're accepting another world." He said, "No, not that type of logical possibility." And of course, he said that's open to conception. So okay, that's fine. That's very fine. There's no problem with that. But mainly speaker wise, we got on to the problem about black holes, where he provided a reductio to sit in there. Physicalism type B, which I clarified towards the end of the recording, which was not my stance about within definition. But so I sat there and said that, specifically speaking, again, not physical type B, so I can sit there and say, "Oh yeah, that's inclusive towards my definition." When I say concrete, right? And I said bilateral towards physical things existing, and of course, I denied that. Sitting there, why I said of course that, "Oh yeah, non-concrete existing things," So basically, they don't exist. That's how I interpreted that they don't exist. But clearly, this thing is capable of existing. So I mean, there wasn't no point to really attack me with or say, "Oh yeah, there's contradictions within my type of definition," when clearly it does exist, and I'm accepting existing things. I would say, "Oh yeah, that's concretely existing because it's capable of having some type of actual nature, which is realist, or just some type of realist stance on it, of course, which is proven to be the case via mathematics, Einstein's relativity points, and like the confusion on the point with the black hole instead of the singularity point. He said, "Oh yeah, he made the distinction," but of course he didn't track the part where I said, "Oh yeah, this is before, the point you made about the singularity, right?" I said this is a different time before you made that singularity point. It's before that. right? So of course you made the distinction, but that was after my response where I said, "Oh yeah, of course, basically there's attraction, gravity, and the space is needed there for the gravitational mass there to even there. So the physical spaces need to be there, of course." And he was talking about within the black hole, the center of time space where it's infinite density. That's pretty obvious to sit there and say about black holes, right? Thought he was just retarded, and obviously talking about the point about black holes in general because he didn't specify. He was talking about a singularity in that point, right? The singularity is much more affirmative and, of course, clarifying rather than sitting there saying, "Oh yeah, black holes have infinite density and don't have spatial temporal relationships." The singularity does not have spatial temporal relationships. The factor is that the black hole itself, the extension which pull things in, that has a spatio-temporal relationship. So he did not clarify until that point, which is the reason why I'm sitting here saying he did not clarify in that specific point, but then made the affirmative to make that distinction, right? So of course I'm affirming those type of things, right? And clearly he did not track that because he's sitting there saying, "Oh yeah, my definition, has contradictions," despite me even stating it's not a physicalist type B stance because I'm still allowing for specific things to be in there because of the conditional I set up with the imagination point and calling them out for, if you're going to use that, that's a conflationist thing, right? That's a conflationist between subjective experience and reality, right? So I even specify when I was saying, "Oh yeah, it's bilateral," that wise physical things within reality would be including that instead of spatial temporal things. Physical things exist, right? But I did not upright deny, of course, or make a universal claim for physical things. I just said that existence is within that point. I didn't make any type of negation through my semantics. So if he wants to play semantics game or the semantics game, the script, the ask yourself script, there's no type of negation towards the specific black hole point. No, not the black hole point, the concrete existence point. Sorry, that was a blunder there, I would admit. But even then, this doesn't make up for the other factor. What was it? What was it? What was it? Let me think. Let me think. Let me think. Yeah, we can just get onto the God's existence point. I didn't see no argument. We just debated over existence. There was no argument for God in question. Like he said, he was taking the negation towards like deism, I guess. I couldn't track what he was trying to say into like that, but I told him I was a weak atheist. So I was already taking some type of weak atheistic stance, which accepted the existence of a deity, but not Abrahamic religions, which is what I clarified, of course. And he said his definition for, the said deity in question would, of course, be that, of course, it aligns with that, which is at the start of the recording at question 2. So the mess up, which you do not realize here, is that you did not provide an argument for God in question. You just debated on existence with me, which is completely irrelevant to the point and just talks about meta ontology instead of actually sufficiently getting up to a point about the argument for God or debating on an argument for your specific definition in question, which is what I was trying to also get into, right? But clearly we moved on to meta ontology for whatever fucking reason you wanted, right? So now that that's over with, my clarification, we can end the recording if you truly believe you won that. So again, you can go ahead and post this, I guess. I give consent. You can sit there and say, "Oh yeah, I beat the fuck out of Seiba." But clearly I don't see anyone winning this conversation as so far it's going, specifically with how clearly the communication was going. Both were bad faith. I'll admit I was bad faith trying to overtalk him at the same time. But when I'm trying to talk, he keeps over talking me or just trying to interrupt. So again, that's the reason why I'm bad faith in that specific conversation. So I will admit both had mess ups. I'm not gonna sit here and be egotistical about it. So GG Apollo, right? GG about the conversation. I'm not gonna rub it in or anything. I'm not gonna sit there and say, "Oh yeah, I won." But it is what it is. So I'm gonna save the recording and let's see what happens.
All right.